Yes.
Prof, we are waiting, of course, for the print of inflation in the United States, which is set to be the highest in 40 years, probably 8.8% according to some economists. But they did mention that possibly that June print might have been the peak na. What about here in the Philippines domestically? Will we be expecting the peak to have passed, or are we still awaiting for second round effects?
On our way there?
Well, you see, the problem with the Philippines is that while you might say that the pandemic is over, the infections have gotten lesser. You might say that the cases are not much more different. We have less severe cases, more asymptomatic cases. I think we're still sort of grappling with the effects of the pandemic. A lot of people right now are demanding for subsidies. They still haven't found work, right? We are still facing a lot of challenges as far as our local production of products. So the inflation now, which was started, by the global economy, inflation now would more or less be more locally generated. It's now become more of a problem with the demand. So I think that even though maybe the conditions worldwide might be sort of stabilizing, we're still faced with the idea that we need to spend more, no? Especially in terms of food, in terms of education, and that means that the inflation might still remain. The problem is that we were not able to set up a proper stimulus program that could sort of carry us as we move towards more recovery. So you still have all of these impact. I mean, the impact of the pandemic still with us, and that's really the first thing that we need to solve first. So while conditions worldwide might be better, I think we're still going to be in a difficult situation.
Prof, how do you see consumption behavior changing due to high levels of inflation here? Do you at least expect Filipinos to cut back on non-essential spending like leisure activities?
Or is revenge spending still there?
Yeah. Well, I guess you will expect that. There's really no choice. So you will notice that traffic now is less heavy than before, right?
Talaga ba?
And people basically, actually, that's what I went to Makati yesterday, and I noticed that. Well, I haven't been traveling. I wanted. Most of my classes are done online, and it was the first time in many months that I drove to Makati, and I found that the traffic is less.
Okay, I think we're having connection problems with Professor. I would have to agree though with him.
There you go, bro.
Especially in the case of the transportation, no? Especially in the case of transportation. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, actually, a lot of people are asking the government to declare the situation right now as some sort of crisis situation, and the government needs to respond to that, and therefore they need to play a more important role. They need to spend more, and that could bring about, given the fact that assuming that you still have all of these supply constraints, both locally and internationally sourced, then you would have more inflation coming.
Sir, can the government spend more at this point compared to how the previous administration handled the pandemic, which was basically tightening our belts? Former Finance Secretary Dominguez didn't want to default on our debt.
That's the challenge.
Okay.
That's the challenge that the new administration is facing. So if you look at their DBCC targets, right? Of course, there are many priorities. But the only detailed target that they have is really on infrastructure. So what they want to do is to try to outgrow the debts. No? So we have so much debts, but the idea is that shouldn't be a problem if the economy is growing. The question now is, how do we grow this economy? And I guess the plan is to pour in more infrastructure. But how do you do that again? So you need to attract foreign investments.
Okay.
Right? I think that's they're trying to institute the PPP again, no? To attract foreign investments to come to the country. So that will seem to be the solution that they have right now at present.
Sir,
But
sir, are you
again, the
confident
question
that
now is, will that solve
yeah.
will that solve the basic problem of food? And I don't know, no? I mean, I would rather think that maybe we could first try to solve the food crisis with whatever resources we have right now, and then to move on from there, no? Maybe one of the ways of increasing food production is infrastructure. So my point is that we need to come up with clear-cut plans, no? We need to come up with comprehensive programs, not just targets, to put us back in place.
Okay, interesting.
Right.
So infrastructure is the key here of the new administration. Sir, how likely is a recession in the Philippines? Because other countries are, it's probably inevitable in the United States. Europe is also bracing for one, but it seems we might be insulated. Is this a positive thing? Why we feel more inflows from foreign investors because of this fact that we might be fundamentally more resilient than others?
I'm not so sure if we're that resilient. No? So I think there's a threat of a recession.
Okay.
But it depends on how well we're able to attract more foreign investments. And so if we're able to, everybody's waiting for this government plan, which presumably is going to be announced when the president gives his State of the Nation address. So if the investors see that as being viable, then there might be a chance that we could avoid the recession. But otherwise, I don't see how we can get away from it. So, yeah. It's important that we come up with a plan.